What's up, everybody? It's your course director, Emily here. Just wanted to go through your portfolio sites that you recently submitted that should have been revised from what you began working on in editing for the web. So I'm going to go through these one by one and give you guys some positive, productive feedback on how to evolve these sites between now and, well, forever. Your portfolio site is never going to be done. Theoretically, you will always be doing better work, and with that, your portfolio should be updated to reflect, your increased skills and the quality of the work that you are completing. So, with that, I'm going to start here with Tyler Oswald. So the first thing I want to say is I'm proud of all of you guys who are, leveraging Squarespace with your designs. It is a little bit of a cleaner platform, and because it requires you to pay for the service, you kind of get rid of all of that free Wix advertising. It's just a little bit more refined. And there's a little bit more of a learning curve with it, but ultimately I think it produces a cleaner result. It locks you into better design. So first things first, I know you've been working on your personal brand and that you probably finished that after you submitted this revision, Ozzy. So the inclusion of that is going to be important. I do see that you're leveraging Oswald here, the font, but in my opinion, you've overused it quite a bit. Kind of scrolling down here to where you have this placeholder text, body text, so sort of like paragraph text, would be better as something more along what we see here, something sans serif, and easier to read. This like bold condensed version of Oswald is not as easy to read as what I previously pointed out. This part looks great in terms of like headings, subheadings, drawing attention to a message, but body font's going to be needing to be something a bit more readable. We have the excite, exceed, elevate, and then there's like this random video that kind of loads in with like drone aerial footage, and I don't actually understand how this relates to you at all. And it's showing sort of like a montage here that like there's nothing about this that feels like you, and even sort of what I know of your work. So something to be thinking about your portfolio site will better serve you if what you're sharing here is a bit more representative of the types of projects that you want to get into. There's a lot of placeholder content on here, which I'm not a fan of. If you don't have content to go there, don't put that page, right? So like no under construction pages at this point. I'm going to poke through. Next, I'm going to go to, that was your home page. I'm going to go to projects, and here we see kind of how you are sharing some of the work you've done. I enjoy this layout. I enjoy the thumbnail images, but again, this condensed bold Oswald needs to be swapped out for something more like what we see here, but obviously not all caps. Since this is the title, it needs to be bigger in terms of the information hierarchy, so the title should be bigger than the body text. Here I can go ahead and listen to the podcast. It seems like these should be, they almost seem like they're thumbnails, right? That I click on them and that they go to a larger version of that page or more details. That's kind of like a disconnect for me in how I thought this was going to act. So something to think about there. Maybe giving them a bit more of room to breathe, each of these projects, and a bit more detail. So here we see some videos that you created, which are great, and I appreciate that you give me the title and then the role that you played, or what part you took in the creation or editing of that video. I see that it can play here and it pops up in a larger light box, so that's great as well. Something you might want to also include is like what software or equipment you used with any of this, just so people know that you have experience with that as well. Demo reel, so I'm not sure why that would happen. A demo reel, it's going to pop me over here and I see kind of a big version of this. I appreciate the custom thumbnail, which gives us your name. Obviously, this will be sort of branded to match your new logo and whatnot there. I'm not sure that the demo reel needs its own page, right? So this could maybe be featured on the home page, maybe looping underneath what we saw there with the aerial drone footage. Not sure it needs a standalone. So my story, Here again, a lot of placeholder text. I know you talked about like not really knowing what to write in terms of copy. Don't overthink it. Get something up there that works for now, but know that you're going to change it. None of this is cemented, and you know, to kind of get paralyzed by perfection is not where you want to be. You just want to start and continue to tweak to, you know, like constantly like iterate until it's feeling more and more like you. There's some weirdness kind of going on here. You know, you need to pay a little bit more attention to, so like your headings are smaller than your body text, and so it should be opposite of that, right? So you need to flip that for the you know, for appropriate information hierarchy on the page. So I'm going to go here to contact, and just a simple form. But how about a call to action? Why should people contact you? What would it take to engage you in creative work, or you know, to engage your services? That's something you want to craft language around, or a call to action. Next up, we're going to take a look at Lorianne, really dig in sort of this shift. It's feeling a little bit more like, you know, like you, as sort of mentioned during the presentations. It seems like you're really coming into your own more and more. I'd like to work with you on this logo a bit. There's, you know, just a few things with like the line artwork here, the uniform width of this line, or like the stroke of the line. It doesn't match sort of the more elegant or nuanced shift in weights from like the different portions of these letters. This looks a bit, you know, sort of like clip art or cartoony icon, where this looks a bit more, you know, elegant and poised. I'd like to see us kind of explore a more blended version of that. Scrolling down, appreciate the image, appreciate the blog posts and everything, and also the photo credit down here, so that's awesome. So this is your home page. It is the about, jumping over into modeling, seeing all of your pictures. I think that this is a better template for you, and because you have such a creative and, you know, so many visual assets to display, I think that this works really nice for you. Photography, same way, you're going to feature your work here. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's loading in. Really love these pictures of Reagan, and you know, just kind of the consistent aesthetic, like that you have organized them so that they're together, right? So they're grouped together and not spaced out, so that you can see that it's a collection of photos along a theme. You think of it more like a stylized shoot that way. You know, so I definitely appreciate the organization of this. Yeah, these are great. Definitely an improvement just in terms of the way that you're displaying your content here. One of the things I might like to see with some of these like digital design posters and or graphics is a bit more sort of contextualization, right? In the same way, you know, you've created these two things that are, you know, very yoga studio or yoga practice or chakra related, you know, to maybe kind of do a case study about like all that you did for this, right? So a single page that shows the assets that you created for this. And in the same way, like I appreciate what you created for Longworth or Lakeworth longboards here, but I would like to see these assets separately instead of together like this. I think the pitch presentation is a worthwhile assignment, but these, you know, these individual assets are cool and would look better in larger format and individualized, and you could contextualize it with this information, right? And so again, your portfolio, you guys, is a curated experience, meaning that you don't want people to have to sift through thousands and thousands of things. It's the best of the best, and it's a revolving door of content, right? Like you are constantly going to be making better things, and so be sure to swap out you know, some of this stuff when you have things that you think are stronger. So I appreciate your blog. I appreciate your constant reflection and moving, you know, constantly becoming, right? You know, more and more of who you are. This feels right, and I hope that you know, you continue to feel good about the direction we see here. So behind the scenes, this stuff is really cool. I always appreciate these pictures of you and kind of, you know, what we see here. I think that this stuff would be even cooler if you wrote blog posts about the shoots and then featured them, right? And so instead of like, we just have this collection of images here, like, take all of the ones that were from this studio shoot when we did the lighting stuff, and talk about what we did, or talk about your process, or anything that stood out for you. And the same thing for what you see here. I just think it makes for a better story to have a little bit of an understanding of what's going on in the pictures. So contact, this is great. Why should people contact you? Is how can they engage you? Engage your photography services, engage your creative, director, creative strategy, your photography. Give people a bit more, direction there. As far as the social media icons go, this is a bit redundant. Don't think that you need them both. And don't think that I think the two different styles are inconsistent, right? So here we have the outline, and here we have the solid and the rounded. Here, spiky hard edges, and here we have the rounded edges. So there's just a difference in like visual aesthetic, and I just encourage a bit more consistency there. So proud of you, Lorianne, constantly proud of you. So, just keep pushing in all these directions. All right, next up we have Bent. So here, just a simple sort of layout, kind of clean, minimalist, assuming that you're going to be updating this information at some point in time. An image of you in your Celtics jacket. Your journey is your story, wondering about why this wraps here. Why does it extend into two lines? Seems a bit of a disconnect. Question for why. And then I would just say that this is your homepage, but you basically have nothing on it. There's nothing that says anything about you, other than maybe you're a fan of this team, but otherwise it's a waste of a page. And this is high value real estate, and not something that you should waste, because there is the chance that someone's not going to poke around to any of these other pages. This is where you need to captivate them and draw their attention and make them want to click on other things. So highly encourage you to revisit the purpose of why you have this. Going next to your blog. So here, some of the articles that you've written, which is cool and kind of showcases the things that you're into, but very void of any sort of visual. I would recommend finding ways to include visuals that go along with that. 93 Sports, 93 North Sports, we got nothing. Maybe it's still loading. Oh, here we go. All right, so here it looks like a screenshot of your Twitter page, right? But other than that, no context, no understanding of what this is, no idea about the brand, no idea about the focus other than it's sports related and Boston related. This is a bit of kind of a, what's the word? It's like placeholder, right? Like this doesn't really say anything. If you're starting to build this brand and this presence, like more needs to be here. My recommendation for any of you guys is no placeholder content, right? Like either you have it or you don't. And so this like basically it creates more questions than it answers. Last but not least, let's jump over to the about. So here it tells you a little bit about, born and raised in Boston. So you kind of give this an identity, except there's no image of you here, right? Like you say, it's written in first person, my city, I blend it with my passion. But like, who are you? Aside from this name up here at the top, there's no identity here. So certainly I think it's something that you need to work on to give this, to give it more dimension. Next up, we're going to take a look at Jaycee's. So very clean and on point as far as the aesthetic goes. I appreciate the logo here. Would recommend kind of moving the navigation out. There's a lot of clutter in this area, so give us some spacing between these elements. You can do that in the design panel there in Squarespace. Go to the style editor and toggle some of those settings. We've got a welcome, and then you're just a graphic designer located in Winter Park, Florida. So kind of a disconnect for me is that you say you're a graphic designer, but there's no graphics here at all. What you're showcasing is some photos of you. Great photos, stylized photos. Makes me wonder if you're more into photography. Also, you're pushing these things farther down here on the page. You've given priority to sort of like this palm frond and a welcome rather than this stuff. My recommendation would be to, if you want to kind of keep this as a design aesthetic, move the graphic designer stuff up here into this area and then start to showcase some more of your work and or descriptions of your work down here. The photos of you are great and definitely work them in, but purposefully so. So here you've got a portfolio of different things: graphic design, branding, photography, videography. I'm going to jump to these different pages to see. These look great. I mean, I appreciate what you're showing me here. I'm not a huge fan of showcasing graphic design pieces in a slideshow like this. And the reason is because I can click on them, right? And it's only kind of advancing me through, and I don't get to see a bigger version of these. I mean, like, I think they're great and I want to see them in like more of a clear way, and I want some context to understand what I'm looking at, right? I want to click on this and understand sort of what you created, why, what you did it with. I want to have that ability, and you kind of just give me to view these like they're photos, not like they're projects. So single them out, like bring one project down on the page, give me the title and the description of what you created. What did you create it with? Who did you create it for? Any of those things. And like when you're doing things like the Butterbean Farms, like this stuff is awesome. Showcase it as a case study, right? So here we have kind of an ad, and here we have the business card, and then pull out the logo and write up it doesn't have to be a lot, but like write up a little something about it so we can understand the full scope of what you created. Jumping next to branding. So here we see what you did for Butterbean Farms, and same feedback about this slideshow. Don't like it because it doesn't give me enough of what I want. It's a little bit of it's an easy way to kind of showcase these things, but I recommend you get a little more comfortable laying information out on the page and putting the information in terms of context, title, all of that, and becoming comfortable with describing and writing about your work. Photography. So here we see some of the images, and I can appreciate this works well for photos, right? But instead, like, I don't like that I'm having to work to see all of them pressing, the forward button. I'd like to just see them kind of collaged on the page. Since they all come from the same shoot, I want to see them all together so that I can see the full aesthetic of what you've done, right? Instead of sort of seeing it piece by piece. I'm not sure that you need welcome to my videography portfolio as an introduction. You have videography up here. Same thing for photography, branding, all of that. You don't need that extra information. So here we've got the video. This video was shot for New Media Tools. You were the director and the camera operator, which is awesome. But can I get a title and a description of the piece? Because I may or may not be in a position where I can actually watch this, but maybe if I'm busy, maybe I don't have time. But if the title or the description was compelling enough, maybe I'd watch it anyway. You want to give me that context to understand the content that I'm looking at and want to make a decision about whether or not to play it. Resume. So here, scrolling down, it looks great, except that it is a picture of words, it seems. Picture of words. And a picture of words is not ideal for a number of reasons. Number one being that it's no longer keyword-rich content. It's a collection of pixels in the shape of words that form sentences that our human eyes can decipher, but that search engines can't. It also gives it a little bit more of a blurry appearance to the text, which makes it less readable, right? So there's no reason why this information can't just be text on a page. Last but not least, we've got the about, and awesome photo of you. Like, overall, I super love your site, and with a few tweaks, I think that you are in a really, really great place with this. I would love to see the addition of your blog. I would love to see the start of those posts that you've outlined. There's so much in you that I cannot wait for it to start to pop up in these places. So high five. All right, Tasia. Love sort of the uniformity of your aesthetic. This nav being off sort of left aligned where everything else is center aligned is wonky. It's unbalanced, so you'll want to check that out. Couple of things. T. Simone visuals. There's nothing visual that I see before I have to start to fold. I have a welcome to my site. That's kind of, it's kind of outdated to welcome someone to your site. Give us what we came here for, which was to see your visuals. Give us that high impact right away. Curious as to why we have the hamburger menu over here when we've got a nav here, because when I hit that, nothing happens. Scrolling down, now this is what I'm waiting for. You've got great work, great visuals, great design, and this is what I want to see, right? So this sort of like, welcome to my site, explore my work. You're making me work really hard to see your stuff. I would prefer you just give me the stuff. We've got your blog posts. I'm going to click through these. So we've got about, and that takes me here, a little bit of your story, what you do. This resume is a picture of words. If you were just listening to what I said to JC, you will know that this is not good because of search engine optimization and readability. There's no reason why you can't design something that looks great like this, that's words on the page, just like what we see here. This is a cute photo of you. I really like it a lot. The circle aspect of it feels off brand or sort of off aesthetic or style for you. Everything else that I've seen so far has rectangular sort of collage appeal to it, like what we see here. Here, I would imagine maybe seeing something like that on that about page. Here we've got your blog, so checking out your posts. It's cool to see all this stuff come in. You've got great work. I love what you do. Not sure about sort of the organization of this, right? So we went home, about, and then contact. When I go to contact, it's right here in the middle. Typically, your home and your contact page are bookends on your nav. So like bookend on the left and bookend on the right. So I would move that over there. I would move design work this way because people want to see your design work before they want to contact you. I'm going to click on one of these just to see what happens. Here, I see this design, I like it, but I have no sort of idea what it was used for. Art direction and design by you, but like, what is this? Title, description, tell me more about this work. What did you use to create it? Same thing. I have no context to understand what I'm looking at. I need more information from you to understand these things so I have more of an appreciation. I dig your work, but I need to have more awareness of the why behind some of these choices. Jumping to blog. So here we've got blog and there it is. Okay, so it's kind of popping in again. Something interesting is this says I'm doing this again, right? But then like when I went to home into this part where it said blog posts, check out my blog post. Okay, I thought that this was a blog post, but it's not. And when I hit posts, nothing happens there. Here we have a photo gallery and nothing happens when I hit that. And design work. Okay, so there are some promises here that aren't being delivered on in terms of giving us links or buttons. No placeholder stuff, right? When the gallery is ready or when that work is ready, then go ahead and add the links. Overall, you got something really awesome here. I love the development of your brand and just how much you're constantly working on this. You have awesome stuff. Give me more to help me understand what you're trying to show me. Next up we have Shandi. So really love this picture. I dig the color scheme quite a bit. This is kind of awkward up here because I can't read it, right? And so it's also redundant, right? So same. How about your name? And we can kind of leverage this cool picture. We don't need this underneath it, right? So how about just your name and then this awesome kind of stylized image of you here and maybe some sort of text about like what you do, right? It's just a bit redundant. Like this doesn't work because it's too small, but then it's also redundant and it's the same thing. And also that like it doesn't have any identity or brand up here in the header. So that's something you want to address. Scrolling down, we see, some of your music and your songs. I love that it's there. We got your bio. You're going to left align that. I like what's going on here. I like this background image and I like how you set the bio apart here. Left align this text instead of center align it for better readability, and a contact form. Subscribe to what? Are you putting out a newsletter? Are you trying to collect email addresses? This looks like template content. If you don't actually do this, remove it because it doesn't make sense. Book online is going to take me to to a page that you haven't really even filled out. I don't know that this makes sense for you. Is this just something that was on the template? You have to figure out how this works into your sort of business process or workflow. Otherwise, it's just more of a liability. And I say that if someone goes on here and tries to book something with you and think that they've set up some time, but they haven't, that's going to reflect poorly kind of on you and your site and your organization of things. So think carefully about having that. Bio, it sort of links me just kind of to this section, which is interesting because here it is as well. So that's redundant. I kind of like it better here on this page than kind of having this as a separate page for, for just that bio alone. Yeah. Music is kind of going to take me to this section. How come this music is different than what we saw on the home page? Question mark. Doesn't make sense. Disconnect. So it's like complicated user experience going on here. Contact, just a simple form. What I see for you, Shandi, is a simple one-pager site that has a section for like a cool introduction to you right here, a little bit of a bio, your music, and then a contact form. Because clicking on all of these pages really didn't give me much other than what I already have here. And so it's kind of like, why are you putting me through this when you're not giving me anything else? I dig this. Keep pushing with it. I just really love the color scheme too. All right, last but not least, we have Darcy. So here we've got sort of your movie blog. I know that you don't necessarily like having to have a site, but hopefully over time we can convince you that it is a cool and important place to showcase your skills and abilities. And you have an amazing ability with your writing, and this blog and these movie reviews are a great place for you to showcase some of that stuff. Writing is really hard, and there's not many people who do it well, and you do it well, so let's just continue to leverage that. The other thing that you really like to do is to promote the people that you care about and think have talent, and this is also a great place for that. I see you as doing some pretty cool case studies on things where you're analyzing either talent or people or artists and being able to provide a cool sort of analytical perspective on those things. I definitely appreciate your commitment to what you've done with these James Bond films. That's pretty awesome. I don't know what Kiki Loves Movies means, but I'd love for you to explain it to me at some time in the future, and then we can talk about like how that plays into sort of your personal brand and kind of what you want to develop moving forward. I know you don't like designing, and I don't want to force anybody to do something that they don't like. One of the things that's great about MCBS is the diversity of the skill sets that people have. Definitely lean on your classmates who do love design and ask them for help with things. There's no rule that you have to do all of these creative things yourself. In fact, I think the best products come from collaborations. So, maybe you can help someone with their writing and they can help you with design. I think that would be a nice marriage of skills and abilities. So here, a little bit about you, and then, kind of your personal brand profile and, some of those things. Like this is, I'm happy that you have included it to have some identity and stuff here on the page. Obviously, it'd be nice to revisit this again, in a couple of months to see how this has evolved and how you can parlay this into more of a visual aesthetic or identity here on your site. But I appreciate what you've done, and moving forward, we just need to continue to be in the conversation about, what should a portfolio look like for someone who does the type of work that you want to do. So if you guys have any questions about the feedback provided here, please let me know. The expectation is that you come back to these sites and frequently. What you present in Portfolio 6 will likely be nothing like what you share here, but I'm trying to get you guys started early. Please come back and see me if you want me to take another look after you've made a round of changes.